And the allegations have always been out there, right? KD has a burner, KD has a burner. They found it. There's even a tweet.
For months, rumors swirled about Kevin Durant and a secret burner account. Now the controversy has exploded into a full-blown fallout. After being caught humiliating his own team online, the Houston Rockets owner responded with a move no one saw coming. So what really happened behind the scenes? Let's break it down. The burner account drops. During the 2026 NBA All-Star Weekend, screenshots from an alleged Kevin Durant burner account surfaced on X, identified as AGThire77. The screenshots came from group chats. The messages in those group chats went after players on the Houston Rockets roster, former teammates, coaches, and other NBA stars. The timing was the worst part. All of this dropped right before the All-Star game was about to tip off. Now here's the thing. Kevin Durant having a burner account is not new. Everybody in the league knows he has burner accounts. He knows everybody knows. He has said it himself on camera multiple times. Back in 2017, Durant accidentally posted tweets from his verified account that defended his decision to leave Oklahoma City while referring to himself in the third person. Those tweets criticized the Thunder organization, head coach Billy Donovan, and his former teammate Russell Westbrook. He forgot to switch profiles. That went viral. Joel Embiid and half the league clowned him for it. Then, in 2019, on ESPN's The Boardroom, Durant straight up admitted he created burner accounts to maintain a space for normal, unfiltered conversations with friends and family. He said it was about living a normal life. Then in 2020, on the All the Smoke podcast, he doubled down. He said he was still going to do the burner thing. He said it directly.
Why? Because I wanted to be stealth. I didn't want nobody to know that was me. I mean, that's really why you get a burner account.
That was Durant on camera, explaining why he uses burner accounts. He did not hide it. He told the world he wanted to be stealth.
Like seriously, if you're questioning what I'm doing, then shit, why not get it from the source if you're that interested?
So the burner account thing has been part of Durant's story for almost a decade now. Nobody was shocked that he had one. What shocked people was what was actually said in the messages this time around. The leaked screenshots showed the account going after Jabari Smith Jr., calling him unable to make a f***ing shot or get a stop. It called him low-key a retard and a lost cause. Those are direct quotes from the screenshots that circulated on social media. The messages also said Alperen Şengün, the franchise center, can't shoot or defend, and that his deficiencies were a way bigger issue than turnovers. Another message, read, Ema turned the ball over with this shitty-ass team, IDGAF. One YouTuber covering this in real time broke down exactly what the account said about those Rockets teammates.
He actually calls out Alperen Şengün, his current teammate, in this first screenshot here you're going to see on the screen. Coach called that play to pass to Alpi, LOL.
And that was just the start. The account also went at Jabari Smith directly.
Jabari Smith can't make a effing shot or get a stop. Just don't give him a tech free throw, TBH.
The messages did not stop at current teammates. They went after Stephen Curry, Devin Booker, Steve Kerr, Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, and Ben Simmons. One message said about Kerr that he hasn't drawn up a one-player suggested anything, but he's a three-time champ. Another said about Curry, if you don't screen and pass up shots for Steph, you getting waived. The account called Devin Booker and Frank Vogel two dictators. It said the Suns were my team when we lose and Book's team when we win.
Steve Kerr hasn't drawn up one player suggested anything, but he's a three-time champ.
That line about Kerr came from the same group chat screenshots, and there was apparently a tweet from 2023 by a random fan account that had already identified AGThire77 as Durant's burner. People found that tweet on the same day the screenshots dropped. That made the whole thing look even worse. And then there was the visual. Durant was seen on camera walking into the tunnel before the All-Star game, glued to his phone. He was on his phone while standing on the court during introductions.
Kevin Durant is seen glued to his phone as he walks into the tunnel to get ready for the All-Star game.
He looked worried. That was the read from people watching it live.
And was glued to his phone when he was even on the court getting announced before tip-off. He was on his phone glued, and you could see the look on his face.
That image of Durant clutching his phone with a nervous expression became the visual that defined the whole scandal. The internet ran with it, and the Rockets were left to deal with the fallout. What the messages actually said and why they matter. The content of the leaked messages painted a picture that went far beyond typical locker room frustration. These were not vague complaints about team chemistry or general dissatisfaction. The alleged Durant burner account went after specific teammates by name, attacked their abilities, questioned their intelligence, and dismissed their value to the franchise. That level of detail and personal venom is what turned this from another funny burner story into something that could fracture the Houston Rockets from the inside out. Let's start with Jabari Smith Jr. Smith is the 22-year-old forward Houston, selected 3rd overall in the 2022 draft from Auburn. His role on the team involves stretching the floor with three-point shooting, providing versatile defense, and handling secondary ball handling duties alongside Durant. He is supposed to be part of the Rockets' long-term core. Burner account messages described him as someone you can't trust to make a shot or get a stop. Other messages called him low-key a retard and a lost cause who he'll never be good. That is not constructive criticism shared privately. That is a demolition of a young player's confidence and reputation, shared in a group chat that apparently included people outside Durant's inner circle.
You're going to have to see Jabari Smith's face. You're going to have to see Alperen Sengun's face. Who knows how they feel?
That question about how they feel is the key to understanding why the messages matter so much. Smith is in his 4th NBA season. He is still developing. Every young player in the league looks to veteran stars for guidance and affirmation. When that veteran star is privately calling you a lost cause, that changes the dynamic of every interaction in the gym, on the plane, and in the locker room. Now for Alperen Sengun. The 23-year-old Turkish center is the player Houston has built around as their franchise cornerstone. He anchors the offense with his post-up skills, vision, and passing ability. He leads the team in rebounds and assists. He is supposed to be the future. The burner messages called him a franchise player who can't shoot or defend, and said his shortcomings were a way bigger issue than turnovers. The account also said, Ema turned the ball over with this ass team. Id gaff. That last line suggested a player who had mentally checked out and was placing blame on everyone around him.
And you're calling Alperen Sengun the best player on the Rockets besides yourself.
Think about what that means. If these messages are actually from Durant, then the best scorer on the Houston Rockets called the best young player on the Houston Rockets a defensive and offensive liability in a group chat with people who turned around and posted it on the internet for millions of people to see. The messages went beyond the Rockets roster too. Former Suns teammate Devin Booker was criticized over leadership dynamics. The account called Booker and former coach Frank Vogel two dictators. It said the Suns were my team when we lose and Book's team when we win. That line reveals deep resentment about credit and blame during Durant's Phoenix tenure. Steve Kerr got hit with the line about not drawing up plays despite being a 3-time champion. And there was the Curry comment about getting waived if you don't screen and pass up shots for him. The messages even went after Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving, and Ben Simmons. One commenter captured the breadth of the damage simply.
And the thing is, too, he basically badmouthed every player on every team in the league.
That observation is important because it limits Durant's options going forward. If he gets moved, which team takes him knowing he might have privately insulted their players too? Every franchise in the league would have to consider that. The Trae Young comment stood out for a different reason. The account reportedly said Young's breath was kicking and that he can shoot from the half court, but he can't shoot a mint in his mouth. That one was petty in a way that felt personal and unnecessary. It had nothing to do with basketball. It was just mean. And that randomness is part of what made the whole leak feel genuine to a lot of people watching.
And he even talked about Trae Young. He said Trae Young's breath was kicking. He said he can shoot from the half court, but he can't shoot a mint in his mouth.
The sheer volume of targets in these messages created a situation where it was not just one teammate feeling disrespected, it was the entire league. The content specificity, direct references to recent games, team strategies, and insider-level details fueled speculation about the account's authenticity. And the timing of the leak, right before the All-Star game, meant Durant had to sit next to some of the same players he allegedly trashed.
Face to face with guys that he talked crap about of. Who knows if they even know.
That is the real damage, not just the words. The fact that Durant now has to walk back into the Toyota Center and look at the teammates he called a lost cause and a franchise player who can't shoot or defend. And those teammates have to look back at him knowing what he allegedly said about them in private. The Rockets' situation and why this matters to Tilman Fertitta. The Houston Rockets that Kevin Durant joined are not a team that can afford this kind of internal disruption. This is a franchise that spent years in the rebuilding trenches, accumulated young talent through high draft picks, and then made the biggest trade in NBA history to acquire Durant as the final piece. Owner Tilman Fertitta signed off on all of it, and now the player he bet the franchise on is the one threatening to tear it apart. To understand why this matters to Fertitta specifically, you have to understand who he is and what the Rockets mean to him. Fertitta was born in Galveston, Texas in 1957. He started working in his father's seafood restaurant at age 12, peeling shrimp. He built Landry's Inc. from a 2-location seafood chain into a national hospitality empire with annual revenues surpassing $4 billion, spanning restaurants like Rainforest Cafe and Joe's Crab Shack, casinos under the Golden Nugget brand, hotels, and entertainment venues. His net worth exceeds $10 billion. He is not a passive owner sitting in a luxury suite. He is a hands-on operator who personally inspects properties and obsesses over details. Fertitta tried to buy the Rockets multiple times. In 1983, he purchased a 3% minority stake. In 1993, he bid $81 million to buy the team outright, but lost to Leslie Alexander, who paid $85 million. He waited 24 more years. When Alexander put the team up for sale in 2017, Fertitta bought the Rockets for a then-record $2.2 billion, financing it by selling $1.42 billion in bonds backed by his businesses. He called owning the team a lifelong goal.
A coach that had the foresight to say, I've got 6 guys that I can really develop. That all 6 of these people have a chance to be an all-star in this league.
That clip shows how Fertitta talks about his team. He is invested in the development of the young players on this roster. He believes in the core. He believes in the direction.
It's because it's time to start winning. We don't want to be one of those teams that it took them 8 years.
He does not want to rebuild again. He has said publicly that rebuilding is not in his DNA, and the roster he put together reflects that urgency. Under Fertitta's ownership, the Rockets have made a series of massive roster moves. He approved the 2019 trade of Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook, sending 2 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps to Oklahoma City. That experiment lasted 1 season. Then he greenlit the 2020 trade of Westbrook to Washington for John Wall. Wall played 40 games before being sidelined. The team then waived and stretched Wall's contract in 2022 to clear cap space, spreading roughly $6.8 million annually over 7 years in dead money. In January 2021, he approved the 4-team trade that sent James Harden to Brooklyn, bringing back 3 unprotected first-round picks and 4 pick swaps, the haul that fueled the rebuild. Those picks turned into Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., Amen Thompson, and Reed Shepard. The Rockets signed Fred VanVleet in 2023 and traded for Dylan Brooks. They drafted Alperen Şengün. They built a young, athletic defensive team under coach Ime Udoka. And then, in July 2025, they made the move that was supposed to push them over the top. The Kevin Durant trade on July 6, 2025, was a historic 7-team deal involving 13 players and multiple draft picks. Houston sent Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick in the 2025 draft, and several second-round picks to Phoenix. Additional teams, Atlanta, Brooklyn, Golden State, the Lakers, and Minnesota, were involved for salary matching and minor assets. It was the first 7-team trade in NBA history. The Rockets gave up their best young guard, their toughest, defender, and future draft capital to get a 36-year-old scorer who they believed could be the difference between a playoff team and a championship contender. Then, on October 19, 2025, Durant signed a 2-year, $90 million veteran extension, locking him in through the 2026-27 season with a player option. Average annual value, $45 million. The extension included incentives tied to all-star appearances and playoff advancement. Fertitta was now financially committed to Durant at the highest level. The Rockets entered the 2026 All-Star break at 32-24, 6th in the Western Conference. Durant was averaging 27.8 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 4.2 assists on 52% shooting from the field. The team had a 4-game winning streak going into the break. They were a legitimate playoff contender. Everything was tracking in the right direction. And then the burner account screenshots dropped. Everything Fertitta invested, the trade assets, the extension money, the years of rebuilding, the young core he specifically praised, all of it was now at risk because of group chat messages posted from an anonymous account. The player he traded for was the one publicly humiliating the players he developed. Can the Rockets actually waive Kevin Durant? Now to the question of whether the Rockets owner waives Kevin Durant. Let's talk about what that actually means under the NBA's rules and why teams almost never do it with players making this kind of money. Under the NBA's collective bargaining agreement, the waiver process allows a team to release a player from his contract. Once waived, the player goes on waivers for 48 hours. Any team in the league can claim him and take on his contract during that window. If nobody claims him, he becomes an unrestricted free agent and can sign anywhere. That sounds simple enough on the surface. The problem is the money. For players with fully or partially guaranteed contracts, waiving does not relieve the original team of its financial obligation. The remaining salary still has to be paid in full. It still counts against the salary cap as dead money. If you waive a guy making $45 million a year, that $45 million still sits on your books. You are paying a player who is no longer on your team, and the money he was making still counts against your ability to sign other players. It is the worst of both worlds. You lose the player and you keep the bill. There is a mechanism called the stretch provision that can soften the blow. If a team waives a player between July 1 and August 31, they can spread the remaining guaranteed salary over a longer period using the formula of twice the remaining years plus 1. So if a player has 2 years and $90 million left, stretching it would distribute the cap hit over 5 years at $18 million per year. That reduces the annual damage, but extends how long you're carrying dead money. And it only works during a specific window in the offseason. If you waive someone during the season, you eat the full cap hit each remaining year. Now let's look at Durant's contract specifically. He signed a 2-year, $90 million extension in October 2025 with a player option on the second year. That means the Rockets owe him roughly $45 million per year. If they waived him right now, in February 2026, stretching would not be available. The full remaining salary would count against the cap immediately. Even if they waited until the offseason to invoke the stretch, they would still be carrying significant dead money for years while also losing one of the top 10 scorers in the league. Teams rarely waive high-salary star players for exactly this reason. Unlike trades, which can bring back draft picks, young players, or expiring contracts, a waiver yields nothing. You get roster space, and that's it. The financial hit remains. The competitive loss is total, and it sends a message to the rest of the league that your organization is in crisis mode. Historical examples confirm how rare this is. The Rockets themselves waived and stretched John Wall in 2022, absorbing about $6.8 million per year over 7 years. But Wall was not playing. He had sat out the entire prior season by mutual agreement. His contract was dead weight already. The Lakers waived and stretched Luol Deng in 2018, roughly $36 million spread over 5 years, to clear cap space for LeBron James. The Thunder stretched Kemba Walker. The Wizards waived Chris Paul after acquiring him in a trade. In every single case, the player being waived was either injured, not playing, or in clear decline. No team has ever waived an active, high-performing all-star on a max or near-max extension. It has simply never happened, and Durant is still performing. Through 56 games, he is averaging 27.8 points on 52% shooting. He earned his 15th All-Star selection this year. He is still one of the best scorers in basketball. Waiving him would cost the Rockets $90 million in dead money, remove their best scorer from the roster, yield 0 assets in return, and make the franchise look dysfunctional to every free agent and trade partner for years to come.
Here's the thing, Kevin Durant's good enough still. Teams won't care, right? Like, if Kevin Durant ends up getting bought out, every team in the league would be lining up to sign him.
That is the paradox. Durant's talent makes him too valuable to cut, but his alleged behavior makes him a locker room liability. Every team would want him if he were available, but the Rockets gain nothing by just letting him walk.
If Kevin Durant, and like if Houston wants to trade Kevin Durant in the offseason, every team in the league would be lining up.
A trade makes infinitely more financial sense than a waiver. In a trade, Houston could recoup draft picks, young players, or expiring contracts. They would shed the salary and get something back. A waiver gives them nothing but a giant hole in their cap sheet and their lineup. So the answer is clear. The Rockets are almost certainly not going to waive Kevin Durant. The CBA makes it financially devastating. The lack of return makes it strategically pointless. And Durant's on-court production makes it competitively suicidal. The more realistic outcome are a trade, a suspension, or, most likely, an attempt to move past it and keep the season on track. What happens next for Durant and the Rockets? So the burner account messages are out. The locker room has been rocked. The owner paid $2.2 billion for this franchise and $90 million to extend the player now at the center of the controversy. The question is, what happens from here? Let's start with the locker room. The Rockets have a young roster that was built through years of deliberate tanking and high draft picks. Jabari Smith Jr., Alperen Şengün, Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, and Reed Shepherd are all under 25. They are the foundation. Veterans like Fred VanVleet, Steven Adams, Clint Capella, and Dorian Finney-Smith are there to stabilize the group and provide mentorship. The entire structure of this team is built on those young players trusting the veterans around them and buying into Coach Ime Udoka's system. Durant was supposed to be the veteran who tied it all together. He was supposed to mentor the young guys while providing the elite scoring that turned a good young team into a contender. His 27.8 points per game on 52% shooting and 41% from three were doing exactly that on the court. The Rockets were 32-24 and sitting in a playoff spot. The on-court fit was working, but the burner messages destroyed the off-court trust that makes on-court chemistry possible.
Now they're going to be talking about Kevin Durant when he's not in the room, saying, what's wrong with this guy? How could he? This and that. And this whole nucleus of the Houston Rockets is now ruined. It is ruined.
That assessment might be dramatic, but the core issue is real. The young players now know, or at least strongly believe, that the star player on their team privately thinks they are a lost cause and can't shoot or defend. That changes how they interact with him in practice, in film sessions, in huddles during timeouts, and in every moment where trust between teammates matters. There are a few paths forward. The first is the one most analysts expect. Just try to sweep it under the rug and move on.
If I'm Kevin Durant, I'm denying. And also if I'm Houston, I'm kind of just letting it, like, leave everything alone.
That approach works if the media cycle moves on quickly. And historically, NBA controversies do burn out fast. There's always another scandal, another trade rumor, another viral moment to chase. If both Durant and the Rockets organization refuse to engage with the story publicly, it could lose oxygen within a week or two.
If everyone just leaves it alone, it'll go away. That is one of those things where, like, in 2 weeks, no one's going to care. Like, by this time next weekend, no one will probably care.
But ignoring it assumes the young players can also ignore it, and that is a much harder ask. These are 22 and 23-year-old men who just read, along with the entire internet, that their teammate thinks they are trash. Moving on publicly is one thing. Moving on emotionally is something else entirely. The second path is a trade. If the relationship is damaged beyond repair, the Rockets could look to move Durant in the offseason. His production still carries immense value around the league. He is a 14-time All-Star with 2 Finals MVPs, 2 championships, and a regular season MVP. His career averages of 27.3 points, 7.0 rebounds, and 4.4 assists on 50, 39, 88 shooting splits make him one of the most efficient volume scorers in NBA history. Contending teams would line up.
They'd all be lining up to trade for him. Right? No matter what, Kevin Durant's not going anywhere.
The challenge is what Houston gets back. They already gave up Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and the number 10 pick to get him. Trading him away after one season means those assets are gone forever with nothing to show for it except half a season of production and a burner account scandal. Whatever they get in return would almost certainly be less than what they paid. But sometimes cutting your losses is the smartest business move, even when it feels like a loss on the balance sheet. The third path, and the one that matters most to the question raised, is the waiver. And as we already covered, waiving Durant would cost the Rockets $90 million in dead money for a player no longer on the roster, yield 0 assets, and set the franchise back years competitively and financially. No team in NBA history has waived an active all-star on a contract this large. It is the nuclear option, and nuclear options exist for emergencies. So extreme that no other solution is possible. This situation is bad. It is embarrassing. It is a fracture in the locker room of a team that was just starting to hit its stride, but it is not an emergency that warrants $90 million in dead money with nothing in return. Now there's one more layer to this. Some people are not fully convinced the account belongs to Durant at all. The phrasing in some of the messages did not match the patterns from his previously exposed burner activity.
I'm also not entirely sure it actually is Kevin Durant. Like, a lot of the way that things were, like, talked about and phrased, like, you look at other burner accounts that he's done, and stuff.
There were specific phrases that raised doubts. Terms like honorable hooper, and the overall aggressive tone in some messages felt different from the more measured third-person defense style of the 2017 burner incident. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.